afternoon. Today's webinar is the fourth event in our series of webinars and in-person events. Now, these events are bespoke to nonprofit organizations. Today's topic is all about Microsoft 365 Copilot, and our aim is to show you how to get the most out of this technology. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Theo Dryden, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. Our webinar is scheduled to run from midday to 2:30 p.m. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat and they'll be answered by the panel at the end of the session. This session is being recorded and we'll share the recording and useful links with you afterwards. Now, I think without further ado, it's time to introduce our speakers. So introducing our speakers for today, we have James, and James will walk you through the evolution of Microsoft Copilot. Next, we have Matthew, and Matthew will be sharing day-to-day examples of how he uses Copilot and how you can do the same to effectively get back your precious time each day. And finally, we have Steve. Steve is going to show you real-life examples of Copilot agents. Now, these agents are ones we've already built using Copilot and deployed them to nonprofit organizations. Let me give you an overview of today's agenda. So as you can see, we're covering multiple topics. So I'm sure there'll be lots of questions. Please feel free to share the questions in the chat. We do have a Q&A button at the top of your screen, but share them in the chat and we'll find it. We'll direct those questions to the panel at the end. Now, with that said, I'll hand over to James to present the evolution of Copilot. Thank you, James.
Right. Thank you very much, Theo. Great to be here with everyone today. So let me move on to setting the scene really about Copilot. I won't take too much of this presentation. I want to get straight into the demonstrations that Matt will take on shortly. But just to give you an idea of what we're talking about today, first thing to note is Copilot is vast. It's embedded across the entire Microsoft ecosystem. So we're really going to be focused on a segment of this today, what Microsoft deem as the modern work, which is the everyday Microsoft 365 applications that you're really used to working with. That's Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, Outlook, Excel, and the other Office applications. So that's the area of focus today. Later in the series, we will probably move around the full suite. Let's start with a visual of what we're probably cover today. So first things first, so what are all these Copilots? They release too many to keep up with. So let's give you a brief description of what they are and what we're going to be showing you today. So first thing to note is Microsoft Copilot for chat. Now, Microsoft have actually released this free, that's included now in the business licenses. That's if you're on Business Basic, Business Standard, Business Premium, and for our customers on the enterprise agreements as well. They've released Copilot for chat inclusive in those licenses, and that's obviously there to get people using the system and getting that embedded in the wider suite. So what is Copilot for chat? Really, it's think of it as very similar to ChatGPT in the sense that you can scan documents or take key summaries from documents. You can brainstorm ideas, you can find information, conduct research. You'll be very familiar with that in the everyday usage now of AI tools. One of the real key fundamentals why customers look to move from using ChatGPT services to Copilot for chat is that the data security around it. So Microsoft have embedded their enterprise security within Copilot for chat. So that means that the data you put into that system will not leave your organization. Unlike larger language models that feed a larger algorithm, and there's every chance that someone prompting for similar information could receive data you've put in. So that's Copilot for chat, free within your business and enterprise licenses. The next one, so Microsoft 365 Copilot. This is the first point where it's a additional license. And this is a Copilot that is embedded within each Office application. So Outlook, Teams, Word, Excel, the everyday applications, PowerPoint, and then it goes wider through the suite into Microsoft Forms as well, as an example. So it's widespread across. It also understands your data, so it can see your Outlook calendar invites, it can understand your patterns of work, it can see things in SharePoint, it can search for documents in OneDrive. And really what Copilot is designed to do, which Matt will show in a moment, is it's really starting to take away that 5 to 10 to 15 minutes per task per day away from the user. So it's a great place to start using AI, and we're really seeing some huge time saves with Copilot for Microsoft 365. If we look at role-based Copilot, I won't dwell on this too much, but we'll probably just a specific webinar focused around this. But role-based Copilot, Microsoft are now introducing into their business application suite. So those that aren't familiar with that, that is applications like Microsoft Dynamics CRM, Microsoft Business Central ERP platforms. They're now bringing role-based Copilot into there. So Copilot for sales, Copilot for service, Copilot for operations, that are given very specific roles to complete, and they can work on tasks without you having to ask them to do so behind the scenes. So, but that's a separate webinar today. What we'll be touching on is Copilot Studio and Copilot Agents. So Copilot Studio is where you effectively go and you build your agents, and this is custom bespoke Copilot for your organization. But we're really seeing the advantage now of Copilot agents is the addition of actions and triggers that allows the Copilot agent to complete activity on your behalf without any need for user interaction, and then produce the result and tell you it's completed. So Steve will take you through some really good examples of what that looks like in a moment. It's also now with Copilot agents there, Microsoft are opening the ability for you to connect it to third-party systems. So we have clients that use other business CRM systems such as Salesforce, Oracle. Copilot agents now have the ability to connect into those systems and retrieve that data as well. It's also a fantastic tool that can be used when not just for completing tasks or acting on emails or what Steve will show later, but it's also a fantastic tool to actually find and retrieve data very quickly from your organization. So Steve will take you through some really specific departmental ideas around Copilot agents. For example, when many of us can relate to this, when you're looking for policies or expenses, can we do this, can we do that? The information is normally documented within SharePoint. Can people find it? Not always. Copilot agent could be deployed specifically designed for HR policies or procedures. You can ask the agent will get the information and bring it to the user instantly. And these agents are embedded within Microsoft Teams or the Microsoft 365 Copilot app as well, which Matt will show a bit later on. When we look at Copilot Azure and AI, this is for often larger organizations. This gets a lot more bespoke. It's a lot more clever around that information, what it can do. Again, that really is definitely warranted for another webinar series that we'll look to take later in the series, but it's designed for large organizations. So that's just a real run through of Copilot. Where we're going to focus today is we're going to focus on Microsoft Copilot for M365. That's Copilot across your Office 365 applications. And we're going to focus on Copilot Studio and agents. And that's the specific custom Copilot that carries out tasks or retrieves data for your users from your organization, that Steve will take you through in a little while. So that's enough of me. At this point, I'm going to hand over to Matt, and he's going to go and demonstrate Microsoft 365 Copilot.
Thanks a lot, James. Really good to be here today. What I'm going to do today is just give a live demonstration of an example where we held a meeting as a fundraising charity. And during that meeting, what we did is we outlined what tasks the people in this group needed to do over the course of about a 4-week period. And what was resolved from a meeting. So from that meeting, we had a few tasks, we had an agenda and everything else. And what we'd have done before the age of Copilot and AI in general was we'd have made notes for that meeting. And from those notes, we'd have created maybe a Word document, and from there, maybe we wanted to create a quick presentation. And what we're going to do today is show how AI can help take away some of those mundane tasks to allow us to get down to the work that we really want to do. So I'm going to share my screen today and just go through some of this with you. Okay. So generally here at Exquitech, my day starts and ends in Microsoft Teams. So that's where I'm going to focus today. But Microsoft Copilot is available in all the apps that Microsoft produce. So that's Outlook, it's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and all that. But that doesn't mean that we have to go into those individual apps to do what it is we want to do. So within Teams, there is an application available called Copilot, and we can use that app here as well. But what I want to show you is some of the other features that Copilot does for us here as well. So what I've got here is I've got a recap of a demo meeting that me, Steve, James, and Theo all joined, and we pretended to be a charity here. So what we did was we used Copilot to automatically record and transcript this meeting. And what happens once the meeting's completed, you get a notification here, and this gives us a rundown of everything that happened in that meeting. So for example, here we're able to see the different speakers, what points in the videos they spoke. We're able to have a look at the individual topics. Now, me, Stephen, James, and Theo, we didn't do anything here to make it do this. What we did is it just does it for us automatically. So we didn't have to say, create a topic and do this and do that. What we're also able to do in here as well is you can click on any of the points here where that person spoke, and it will just take you to that point in that video. So if we want to reference it back later, it's nice and easy. We don't have to go through and watch the video back in full. And again, it can show all the different places. We also have chapters here as well, and again, it will show everything that was in those chapters. But what I'm really interested here in the power of Copilot within the Microsoft ecosystem here is the AI summary of those notes. So what it's done in the background is it's fully transcribed the entire meeting word by word. It's not 100% accurate, but it's 95%. Okay, so it's really, really good. Now, a transcript on its own is fine, but there's loads of it. And again, I don't want to have to read through this and figure out if anybody mentioned me and things like that. So in here, Copilot will create an AI summary for me, and I'm going to use this in a minute to do something with Copilot to show you what this can do for us to speed up those mundane tasks. But here, it's given us all the meeting notes summarized for us, nice and easy. It's also given any follow-up tasks here for us as well. And also here, just for me, I want to know whenever I was mentioned in that meeting. So again, they've asked here if we can get some ambassadors on board, and we can go ahead and click that, mention that, and again, it will take me directly to that meeting, that point in that meeting recording, should I say. And again, if you can have multiple ones in here, it doesn't matter how many. But what I actually want to do now, as part that meeting's finished now, we've all got our tasks that we've been assigned. But what I want to do is I want to create some official document that I can share, not only with that internal team there, but maybe with the wider organization. And just sharing a meeting recap like this is probably not the best way to do it. So what I want to do is I'm going to come back here in a second. I'm just going to drag this down a little bit here. So I'm going to go to Copilot. Okay. Now this app here, we have some options here. So we have a work tab and a web tab, but this is really important. So the work tab here just lets us know that everything we're doing, we're interacting with our own organization, our own documents that we have access to and things like that. And the web tab is more for broader questions. Maybe I want to find out some ideas that might be relevant to a fundraising event, and it will go off. If I use the work tab here, it will reference all the documents that I've got access to, maybe look at some previous ones that I've done, and it will go through and pull all that information for me as well. When we look at here, we can say that we've got some prompts here as well to help us. I'll come back to that in a minute, but I really want to show what we can do with that meeting recap now. So what I want to do is, instead of me writing it all out for this presentation here, I'm going to write a prompt in here. Now, anything to do with AI, the more information you put in, the better the output all the time. Now, I'm not saying we need to go in and write an entire novel to go and tell Copilot what to do, but we just need to give it some information here. So I'm saying create a fundraising event for raising funds, dog kennels. I have a meeting summary from our last meeting and include a schedule of activities and promotional ideas to attract more participants. This should be a professional document with a summary and a plan of action and suggest engaging social media campaigns. And I'm going in there now and I'm just saying my meeting notes are. So all I'm going to do here now is I'm going to come up. I'm just going to go and copy my meeting notes and it's already summarized. And I'm just going to pop that in here as well. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, Copilot's going to go away and it's going to go and try and create an outline for a Word document for me here. So now it's kind of done what it's done. So it's given me a scope for all that, what I could go in and paste into a Word document here now. And I also asked it to create a table. So it's creating a table for me as well. It's even giving me some ideas here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go and copy that now. I'm happy with what it's produced. Now, anything to do with AI, what it's not here to do is to replace us. So we should never take what AI prints out as truth. We need to review it and just make sure we're happy with it. But for this instance, I'm going to say I'm happy with it. I'm going to go ahead and copy it. So I'm going to go to my team now. So I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to go into my files. I'm going to go and create a new Word document now. Now, the next section I'm going to show you here does mean there is one kind of gotcha here that I find most people fall foul of, is Copilot will only work in documents if they're saved to an online location. So think your OneDrive or a SharePoint Teams site channel and things like that. Now we can see here Copilot's already activated, and again it's giving me some prompts here as well. So it says draft document based on file or something like that, but I haven't got any files at the moment. So I'm going to put create a professional document with a summary based on these meeting notes, for example. And we'll see if this works. What we will find is if this has got any kind of content in here that Copilot doesn't like, it will give me a warning. So we'll just go ahead and generate it. Now it looks like it's fine at this point. So if it did, it would tell me if there was anything wrong with what I'm trying to ask it, and I can go back and correct it now as well. So now what this has done is taken that meeting AI summary, I've created some notes and I've put it in Word. I'm just going to go and review it, and I can at this point ask Copilot to make any changes that I want or things like that. But for now, I think I'm happy with it. So I'm going to keep it. So now we've got a full Word document that can be placed and shared with the rest of the team, or we can go ahead and maybe summarize it as well. I'm going to go in and just insert a summary here as well, again, just for the sake of the show here. So now it's going ahead and created me a new summary in here. Maybe I prefer that one, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that one. So as we've got here, we've got a fundraising event for dog kennels. It's given us what the summary is. It's given me a plan of action, a marketing strategy, fundraising target, and some other things, an action plan here. And again, here's my table here, and it's added who's responsible. Not sure I'm too happy with it making me responsible for lots of things, but here we are. And it's given us a deadline as well that are relevant to what we talked about in that meeting. So again, I'm not saying this has created the perfect document for us and we can go and send this off to the CEO and letting them know what a great job we did. But again, it's the building blocks. This has saved me at least an hour at this point. Maybe I want to go in and spend half an hour just tweaking it and making it a little bit better. But at this point, I've saved a lot of time. So this is great. Now, my boss has asked me to create a presentation because I'm going to go in and present this to the wider team. Although this is the core team here who's going to go and do this fundraising event, we want lots of other people on board, and I don't want to just share a Word document with them. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go up here and click the share button. I'm going to click here and I'm going to copy a link to this document. So that's now copied. I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to go and create a PowerPoint presentation now, and I'm just going to call this event as well. So I'm going to create that. I'll just give it a second. So now, again, a bit like in Word, it's saying create presentation or create presentation with file. So, and you can see here it's highlighted the Copilot icon. So I'm going to do that here now. And I'm going to pop that file in, and it's now edited that, because this is why it needs to be an online file, for example. I would like all images to be puppies. I'm going to see, I would like, didn't go in, apologies. I would like all images to be of puppies. We'll see. Let's see how this goes in a live demonstration. I'm going to go ahead and click go there. Now this takes, it's not instant. It does take a little while. It's going to go through that Word document now and have a look at what it can do. I'm just going to take out two of dogs. Let's just see. It's giving me an error here. So it's going to say, look, I don't understand what it is trying to. It didn't understand puppies for me, but we'll see if it likes dogs. If it doesn't, we'll come back out. Let's see if we can get this to go through. Let's see. Just bear with me, everybody. Here we go. So it didn't like the fact that I wanted images of puppies in there, and it didn't like the fact that I wanted images of dogs. So now it's going through and it's kind of figuring out what it wants to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and generate slides now. So again, it will just take a few seconds. It's not instant, but it's a lot quicker than if I tried to do it myself. Now what it's doing here is going to go and add all the titles to the slides. It will even generate some speaker notes for me. And again, like I said before, it's not going to be perfect on its first run. It's not going to maybe look the way we want it to look, but it gives us that template to go ahead and use now. So again, it's now generating the content from that Word document here for me. And we'll just give it a few more seconds. It's applying what it thinks the design should look like. And we'll see how good this actually is. Almost there. Okay, so it did end up putting some pictures of dogs and some random people in here, but we can go ahead and change that. What we're going to do, we're going to have a look at it. Again, at this point, we can go through and ask it to change some things for us, but I'm going to just go and keep it here, and I'm going to change to the slide. So now at this point now, it's given us the main page, it's given us an agenda, it's given us an event summary. It's not a very good page, that one, but on this one, it's actually decided to create as a dog kennel inside a cage. But there we go. And again, we can start having a look now, and it's just built this out. Again, it's not perfect at this point, but it's given me a good starting point to go through and actually start building something out ready to present to the wider team. So again, within a couple of minutes within this webinar here, we've able to have some meeting notes. We've able to create a professional looking Word document. And on top of that, we've managed to get a good foundation for a PowerPoint presentation ready. So all within a few minutes. And now I can just spend maybe an hour just going through and making this a little bit better, ready to present, and we are good to go. Now, there are many other different things you can use Copilot for, and I just want to touch on them slightly here. One of the things you can do in Copilot as well is you can have visual, you can create videos in here as well, all sorts of things. You can create images. So maybe we needed a flyer in here. You can go ahead, create an image of a dog wearing a wig, for example, and we'll see what that pops out. It takes a little while, so it'll go through and it'll start generating and it'll start thinking about what that image will look like. And again, you're not even restricted to images here at this point. You can even go ahead and create videos as well. Again, probably not the right place to do it in a webinar because it does take a few minutes to work, okay? But that's kind of it in terms of the image generation. And again, we can have a look at lots of stuff there. Now with Copilot, if we just come out and we'll go to normal Copilot, what we can do here, if we stick it within the work tab, as I said, we have some prompts here. And if we click this little icon down here, we can view all the prompts here. So Copilot will work across your entire Microsoft 365 environment. So I can catch up on a meeting, I can stay informed from the latest from people, suggest common questions. There's loads here. And what this is supposed to do is it just trains us on what kind of prompts work and what doesn't. So AI has to understand what it is we're asking. The better it understands us, the better its output will be. But again, you can, one of the things I like to do, I tell you, is like I enjoy writing. I like writing technical documents, but maybe my typing isn't the best and I make constant mistakes and I used to have to go back and correct them. I don't like seeing all the red across my document. What I can do is just write my paragraphs and then get Copilot to go in and just tidy up those paragraphs for me. And we can do that there as well. I'll just show you an example of that actually. So for example, if I'd written this section here and I wasn't really happy with it, I could go in and click that there. And I have some options here to auto rewrite it, make it shorter, make it more formal. I can visualize it as a table, or I could say make more fun. And we'll just hit enter there and it'll go away and it'll create another draft for me in here, and it will just create something there. And if I preferred that, I can replace the original bit or just keep it on top as well. So we can go ahead and do that there. If we just come back here. So again, you can ask this to let Copilot, let me know whenever I was mentioned in an email, let me know if I said I was going to do something last week and I haven't done it. You can ask it for anything. Maybe you've been tasked with creating a new document, but you've been asked to make sure that it follows the same kind of template that you would use elsewhere in the business. You can ask it, create a document based on these other documents within SharePoint. One of the things to know is Copilot will only reference material you have access to. So if Steve has some personal or private documents, it won't reference them for me, but it will for Steve and vice versa as well. So it's really handy here. But again, there is so much in here you can do. And also within chats as well, if you are a business that uses chat quite a lot and you find Teams is a bit clunky where you have to scroll through multiple chats, you're able to come in, you can go to a chat anywhere in here, we can go in here, and we can turn on AI notes in here. So it will automatically reference and summarize like the last week's worth of chat in here as well. Or you can come through and ask it to show you whenever you've been mentioned. Maybe you were out of office for a day, you were traveling. Instead of going through and looking at all your notifications, you're able to just go in and ask Copilot, let me know anytime that I've been mentioned while I've been away. So I think I'll leave that here as part of my demonstration. There are so much to Copilot that we could cover, but generally this is how I would use Copilot, and I do use Copilot during my day, just to get rid of some of those mundane tasks, as I said at the beginning. But for now, if you've got any questions or you want to see anything else from me at the end, leave it to then, and I'll happily come in and show you some further demonstrations. Other than that, over to you, Steve. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks very much for the insights there. I'm now going to dive into Copilot. Just bear with me 1 second while I get the slides back. Perfect. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see the slides now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to dive into Microsoft Copilot Studio. So Copilot Studio is designed to get information rapidly to the user from documentation somewhere within the organization. So that could be SharePoint, OneDrive, or potentially another source. So this approach saves time by eliminating individuals to actually contact that particular department. So a really common one we see is HR. So for example, if you have an HR policy, you can attach an agent to that HR policy, and then you can talk to the actual policy and get the information from the policy rather than having to speak to somebody in HR. So there's a number of departmental agents you can see on the left hand side. So these examples of what we've used before. So something like a policy advisor helps people get information really quickly from documented policies and procedures without needing to contact the department, like the HR example that I gave earlier. Similar sort of thing for leave management. So people can check their leave entitlements and their remaining holiday by speaking to an agent and looking at the data rather than having to contact somebody. Processes and procurement agent. So that's ideal for sort of frontline workers. So people on mobile phones, rather than having to actually search for data, they can use real-time language and ask questions and information and be provided that information back. Really helpful for sort of shift workers. So then on the right hand side, we've got some business case agents. Now these are designed to undertake a specific business process. So we're going to be demoing a number of these. So a referral agent, so that would manage incoming referrals. It might add them to a spreadsheet. It could notify somebody in the organization. It could do a follow-up or set a reminder. So the whole aim here is to try and automate that workflow process. We've also got a social care agent, which we're going to be demoing in a moment, where we can transcribe handwritten notes into digital documents. We can understand document layouts, and we can provide that in a ready-to-use format. That's been a really, really popular agent, and in 1 second I will be demonstrating that. And the final one is a fundraising agent. So you can track fundraising campaigns, you can monitor progress, what's going on, you can have insights, and even tell people about some of the donation trends that are happening. So these are some of the agents that I'm about to demonstrate. So bear with me a second, and I will just share my screen again. So hopefully everyone now can see my Copilot screen. Just going to minimize that. Right. So within here, as you can see, I've got Copilot, and on the right hand side here, I've got a number of agents that I've created. So the first one I'm going to go to is the HR policy assistant. So the HR policy assistant, as you can see, I've created some prompts here that are used on a regular basis. So if there's common questions, I can have them preloaded, ready to be used straight away. And what we've done is, for this demo, I've taken one single HR policy within SharePoint. I've created this agent and I've told it that it's an HR assistant, and it's to give me answers for any questions that are asked based on the policy that it has access to. So if I ask it, how many days holiday do I receive each year? It will scan that policy document that I've got held for it, and it will give me the details back. Now, I can extend this further, and if, for example, there was some trusted websites or URLs that I wanted to use, and if the information wasn't in the policy document, there may be a government website. So let's say, for example, I asked around reclaiming money for mileage, and if that answer wasn't within the company policy, I could direct it to a trusted website. So first of all, it would scan the policy document. Information isn't available within the policy document. The second area it's going to go to are trusted websites. So I could suggest links for trusted websites, which it could look through. It can look through those sites, see if the information's there. If the information's not there, I could put additional sources. So there may be an internal database or an internal system. So I can actually sort of triage these requests based on the information and the data that I have. So this is just a really common example of how somebody can use an agent to access information from a document really easily using natural language. So we see lots of people in the field where they have to follow a particular process and they may not be sure. Previously, they have to look and hunt for a document, whereas now they have the ability to talk to Copilot on their mobile, and Copilot can answer the questions for them while they're out on the field. So the next agent that I'm going to show is an extract and draft agent. This is probably one of the most popular agents that that we've launched. We've only been using this agent for a short amount of time, but it's proved really, really popular. So lots of charitable organisations that we're working with have a lot of paper-based notes. So as an example, I've got some notes here. This isn't my handwriting. This is something that I've just created. It's some notes on a meeting that somebody had in 2025 in April. And as you can see, I've taken a photograph of this image. So what I'm going to do is, because it's a photograph, I don't have access to the text within that image. So I've got a prompt here that gives me the ability to extract the information from that image and give it to me in a digital format. So if I click on that, it will put the prompt at the bottom here. I can type then // and then I can type in the details of the document. So it's a PDF document that I'm going to attach it to. And the prompt that I'm asking it to do is to read through that document and provide me with the context of that document, which it's done. So what it's done is I've given it a template, and the template that I've given it is to provide me with the information in this format. So date, time, location, attendees, the discussion points, etc., etc. So if I'm meeting with somebody and there is a particular type of requirement, for example, if I just needed to provide them with a particular report, what I can do is, rather than just providing it in meeting minutes, I can actually take the information and put it into a pre-built report. So if I take this prompt here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same text again. So because I've already uploaded that image, it's going to go straight to that document. It's going to pull out the template that I've created, and it's going to start to fill out my pre-created template. So you can see we've got an introduction, the current feelings, things that are happening at the school. So this is obviously a very, very basic template that I've created. But what you're able to do is you're able to format your own document. It can pick up information and notes from a conversation and then format that into a specified type of report. So I know there've been some questions about meetings. We've actually seen people use this type of technology with Word. So you may have, for example, your laptop open when you're having a conversation. You may have the dictate setting on your laptop, so it actually dictates the conversation that you're having with an individual. You could then take that information and then you could use an agent like this and take the notes from that dictated conversation and upload it into a pre-configured document. I'd also reiterate what Matt said earlier on. It's a Copilot agent. It's not going to do all the work for you, but it's going to make massive time savings. So not everything is going to be 100% correct. There will be a few typos and spelling errors, but that's for the individual to check and make sure it's 100% correct and formatted as you would like it to be formatted. Now, while I was on this meeting, what we decided to do was, for the individual that we were speaking to, we're also going to create a family tree. So the family tree looks something like this. So we've got Millie Smith, who's the child that we've been speaking to, and we've just at a real high level mapped out all of the individuals who associate with Millie. So what I'm going to do is I've got another prompt here. So the Digital Family Support Network. If I click on that prompt, and then what I can do is show you another way of doing this. I can click on the add button there. I can find a document. And this is the document that I just showed you. So I'm going to open that document. So what I'm then going to ask is I'm going to say, can you extract the information from this hand drafted document that I've created, and can you give me the content from that? And you will then be able to see that at the bottom here, it started to pull out from that document the branches, the central node of the people. And as I say, this is a very, very high level document. There is a new feature that's coming out, and the new feature, it's available in some test areas at the moment, but one of the new features that's coming out is you're going to have the ability to be able to digitalize this type of image. So it'll create a digital version of the image for you. Fortunately, it isn't something I can show today, but it is in a beta format, and it's due to be released very, very soon. And we see again that will be a big game changer. Now, once I've got the information in here, something else I can do is I can then actually talk to the agent, and I can ask the agent questions about the report. So I could say, what are the main concerns with the report? There we go. And then it's given me some insights around Lily and some of the things that we should think of when working with her. So what I can do is, because I've put two different documents in here, I can ask various questions. So I could ask what recommendations can I make. Now, if I've had previous documents or previous cases before, if all that information was stored in the same location, and can refer to other documents where we've created recommendations based on similar problems or issues, and they can use those from the other documents in order to create something customized for this particular document. I could even ask from the image that I gave, what tasks can I give to key contacts? So let's ask that. So it's now referring to the second image that I posted in, and it's given me a list of things that I can recommend to people who were part of that photo. So again, you know, there are no boundaries in relation to this. It's literally creating an agent, attaching it to some data, and then I have the option of giving the agent a persona so that it can derive certain types of responses to the questions that I give. So we're finding that with a lot of charities, they don't always have the complete skill set that they need within the organization. So this is a great way of creating a persona, skills that aren't necessarily available within the organization. So the second agent that I'm going to show is a donor engagement agent. So a number of you will have fundraising facilities or services that may be in some sort of database. You may have an application, it may be on a spreadsheet. But what we can do is we can create what's known as an autonomous agent in order to interact with this type of data. So what I've done here is I've created a really simple list of people that have donated to the charity. So there's an application on a handheld device, and if somebody out in the field then makes a donation, so if I make a donation, I will put my details in. Let's pretend I'm 21 again. I'm going to put my location in here. I'll put my email address in. let's say I donated this in a shop, and let's say I donated £100. So as you can see, once the donation has been made on the application, you can see here that it's then filtered through into the application, and I've got a register here that donation has been made. So what I've actually done is, in the background, I have connected a donor engagement agent to that platform. And you can see that every single time that somebody makes a donation, the agent is notifying the team. So if I may have a Teams channel, and I can add this agent to the Teams channel, and the agent is advising people that a donation has been made. So if I wanted to, I could trigger actions off the back of this happening. So for example, every time somebody makes a donation, then what happens is the agent is going to email me. So the agent has emailed me, the person who's made the donation. It's given a name. Thank you for your donation of X. I really appreciate you helping with the cause. Now, these can be customized according to the size of the donation. So if it's a very, very large donation, we may want to do something more personalized. If it's a smaller donation, as I say, we want to do something from the CEO, a personal message. So we can customize this according to the size of the donation that has been made. So that's an example of an autonomous agent. So that's literally carrying out workflows and tasks once a trigger happens. Now, the final agent I'm going to show is a fundraising campaign agent. So the fundraising campaign agent.
Yes, I did mention. He did mention that you were going to give me a call.
So again,
yes, I've got a couple of questions.
Sorry, I think somebody's got their microphone on. I don't know if that can be muted. That'd be great. Thank you. So the final agent that we're going to show is a fundraising campaign agent. So similar to what I've shown you before, what we've done is we've associated an agent to a database of donations. So this is quite a large database that we've attached it to, but we've created some prompts here. So for example, a KPI report. So what the agent would do in this scenario it will go out, it would sort through all the donations that have been made over a 6-month period, and it will create me a mini report. So this takes a little bit of time to generate. So as an example, what I'm going to show you is an overview of the report. So it will give me a breakdown of the months, February, March and April, all of the donations that have been made. It would also give me how many donations have been made, what the average size of the donation is. We've also set some targets within the system. So we said that we wanted to make X amount of money, and it's now analysing against the donations that have been made. Have we met that target, yes or no? And it's given us of what our targets was and how much we've actually raised. It's then given us some insights into that, and it's also given us what the average donation is across those months. So again, a way of interacting with the data. So we've put something really lightweight together, which is almost like an Excel spreadsheet of donations. If you had something like a database or a CRM, this can be attached to. It can provide you with far more insights. So that's everything from a fundraising perspective. James, if I can hand back to you.
Yep, thank you, Steve. You wouldn't mind just taking on the chat that's going
no problem.
I share, no problem. Let me just bring this back up. Ignore that request, Steve. Okay. So the part I think we few questions were in the chat around this. So just the incentives. So I'm going to talk about two particular licenses that we focused on today and explain them. So Microsoft 365 Copilot, that's the Copilot again that you have in each of your Office 365 applications. So everything in your plan in terms of the ones we use every day, Teams, Outlook, OneDrive, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, a Copilot is there in that application, within that license, but also on lesser known or not as commonly used apps like Microsoft Stream for the video recording, Microsoft Forms. You can use Copilot again to create forms for you very, very quickly. So with Microsoft Copilot, it's £19.60 per user per month. And that's a 15% discount from the normal price to the private and corporate sector. Now, we understand that that is a fairly increased cost when you look at your normal subscriptions for your Office 365 or security applications. We'll talk about a little bit how we approach Copilot in another slide around the adoption journey that we typically take our customers on. Copilot Studio. Now, Microsoft made this extremely, I think they tried to do it simple, but they made it the most complicated, convoluted when it got released. So what Copilot Studio is it's $50, which is around £40 per month for the non-profit sector. It was $200 when it first got released, but they've significantly reduced that for the non-profit sector because the agents really are the ones that are helping a lot of our customers. So and that includes 25,000 messages. So that's interacting with your agent. Now it gets a little bit more complicated in terms of different types of messages, depending how complex and what type of message it is, means it will take up more messages. So it's not just every message is one, it depends on the type of inquiry. What we've done, which I will share at the end, is that we built a nice straightforward table as we can do to explain the types of messages, how much messages they take, and we'll give you an example of an AI agent and how much that is costing a particular organization, just so you've got an idea. But they haven't made it simple, but that's what it is. We'll provide you a nice table and we'll provide you an example agent and the pricing around that. What it will say as well to those who are a bit more technical on the call, when you use Copilot, when you start thinking about what Steve mentioned a moment ago about the actions and the triggers, so the Copilot agent would be triggered by an email coming in, a name recorded on a database or an Excel spreadsheet, and then the action is to notify someone in the Teams channel or complete a task. That is then built upon the Power Platform, and that is then a separate price indication. But again, there's heavy discounts for non-profits in the Power Platform. For those that are non-technical, I don't expect that to have made much sense, but again, on the slides we send out, we've got some really good information to break that down to make it super straightforward and simple. And of course, there's people like us who are experts in this field. We spend a lot of our time here. So when we are building agents of customers, understanding their working process, understanding like why they need to do this, what the return would be, we clearly at that point start showing what the monthly price would be on this agent based on the information we're collating. So a good partner in this field will be able to tell you that before you get some bill shock come across your desk 2 months after. So that's the two we spoke about today. And again, we will send a real concise table about how the message consumption works for agents. If I move on to the Copilot adoption, so here we have a Copilot adoption journey that we have implemented time and time again. It has this many cogs, but I'm not going to talk you through every single point here, but the purpose of the slide is to know that we've done this before. We know what gets the best results in terms of the return engagement. When you're using new tools like Copilot, this is a mind shift change. So we have to train the users on how to use the tools, how to prompt it, understand their business cases. And that's why when we look at Microsoft 365 Copilot, that license does appear quite steep, but we always recommend we start with 3 to 4 champions in the business and we work with them and we build up their exact examples. We document them. We document the time it saves, the processes, the prompts. So it becomes training guide for the teams that adopt it towards the end of the journey. Copilot has an analytics page that we work with our customers as well, so we can show our customers exactly what Copilot is being used for within an organization, per application, per user, the prompts. What we will say around this as well with Copilot, our journey, at the bottom there you'll see a sort of nod towards security, compliance and governance. We have a team within our organisation that are experts in that field around cybersecurity, data governance, and they understand the regulations in the UK around GDPR, and they understand the directives we have around this or cyber essentials. So not only can we take you through adopting this new exciting technology, but we can take care of the security aspect of that and all the questions that undoubtedly will come from it, whether about being biased, what data can I put into AI? We can take you through that journey and make that really straightforward and simple. At this point, I'm going to hand back over to Steve. We've saved this bit right to the end, and then we're getting to the Q&A. Steve's going to, for those who don't know about Exquitech and what we do, Steve's going to provide a little high-level view on what we do as an organisation, and then we'll get to the Q&A.
Thanks for that, James. What I'm pretty much not going to do is tell you too much about us as an organisation. What I am going to do, though, is I'm probably going to tell you why you should be looking to work with a Microsoft partner. And I'm also going to be telling you what you need to look for when you're working with Microsoft partners. The first thing is we as an organisation deal directly with Microsoft. So the majority of partners in the UK will have a connection with Microsoft. The majority of those will be through a distributor. One of the things that we offer is that when we work with charitable organisations, Microsoft provides you with discounted licensing. We actually provide a discount on top of that. So we provide Microsoft license at cost price. I'm not sure of any other vendor that offers that. We have the ability to do it because we deal directly. There's no middle third-party distributor that we have to pay for our licenses. So part of working with the charity sector is that we give them money back from a licensing perspective. The second thing is funding. Not many charitable organisations are aware that Microsoft provide funding for things like security reviews, audits, upgrades. All of these things are periodic, and generally you need to be advised of these by a partner. Microsoft very rarely make individual organizations aware of these offers that are available. So again, another reason, good reason to work with a partner. Product awareness speaks for itself, really. It's why we're holding these types of webinars on a regular basis, to make organizations aware of what is out there, what's available to them, and how they can use the technology. Especially with AI in this sector, we find that lots of organizations have heard about it, but they don't actually have use cases. How can I use this tech? What can it do for my organization? How can it help me? We also have the ability to have the option to a higher level of support than most organizations have access to. So anybody that's dealing directly with Microsoft would have to go in at a tier 1 level of support. We actually pay quite a substantial fee in order to have our own dedicated, escalated level of support with Microsoft. So any issues or problems that we have, we're completely managed by Microsoft, and it's a higher level of support that an individual user would receive. And the final thing is best practice. You know that if you're working with a Microsoft partner with the right accreditations, you are going to have things deployed in the right way. And that probably leads on to my next slide very nicely. So how do you know what Microsoft partner you should be working with? So lots of you have probably heard about things like a Microsoft Gold partner, a Microsoft Silver partner. those certifications are no longer valid. They were end of life about 3-4 months ago. And the reason that they became end of life was because of the portfolio that Microsoft has. It's such an extensive portfolio that their vision was that to have one accreditation to say somebody's gold doesn't cover the full portfolio and ensure the partner that you're dealing with is an expert in that area. So what they've done is they've actually broken it down into 7 solution partner accreditations. So you can see on the top of the slide, those 7 accreditations are the baseline accreditations somebody should have in each of those areas. So as you can see, Exquitech as an organisation, we hold all 7 of those accreditations. So we have the skills and the competencies to deal with Microsoft solutions from end to end. Now, once you have that baseline solution partner accreditation, there's something called advanced specialized. So advanced specialized is the certification on top of the solutions partner, which is an extended number of engineers. There's certain thresholds that you need to meet with regard to case references, with regard to financial targets. Once you have those, you can then be applied for a advanced specialism in that particular area. So again, so for today, you know, AI, we were one of the first partners globally to obtain that AI advanced specialism. Also from a security perspective, which is probably one of the most important areas for most organizations, especially in the charity sector. Again, we hold that. We've also won Partner of the Year. So it's really important that whoever you're working with, whatever project you're looking to work with a company on, you make sure that they have the relevant accreditation, because you then know that things are going to be done in a best practice way. And then the final thing is organizations in the sector that the company are working with. So as you can see, we've got some very large, well-known companies on there, all the way through to some smaller organizations, 10, 15 people, local charitable organizations. But our aim and vision is to just show companies how they can use Microsoft technology and what a difference it can make within the organization. I realize that money is really tight for a lot of the smaller charities at the moment, and the way that they can keep their head above water is by reducing those internal costs and automating workflow. So that's where the technology really can pay back dividends. So that's everything from me. I think we're down to question and answers now. So Theo, can I hand over to you?
Yes, you can. Thank you for that, Steve. I'll just take control now. So we're ready to open up the Q&A. I can see that we've tried to answer your questions as we've been going along. If you have any more questions, please drop them in the Q&A box now, and we'll go through that. We're also going to try a poll in the chat, so you can contribute to our idea generation for future webinars that we will be hosting. Let's start off with a question for James. From Paul, does Copilot have virtual assistant features to help with things like diary management, email filtering, and general organization?
It does. Matt is probably better placed to answer that within Outlook.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, the Copilot's fully embedded into Outlook. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to show some of the features here. Okay, so there's a small email chain here. So James has asked me, hi Matt, did you complete the actions of getting the top 300 donors? So I can see that I've missed a load of messages here. Maybe I've responded to some of them, but one of the things that I can do here is just go ahead and use Copilot to go ahead and summarize the email chain for me. So that's one nice easy thing. I use this one quite a lot, to be honest, and it will tell me what James has asked me and things like that. You can also go ahead and use Copilot to organize a meeting. So if James has asked me if I can have a meeting, well, I could go and look through my entire diary and figure out when we're both free, or I could just go ahead and schedule a Copilot, and it'll pull up and then it'll put the email chain in there so let everybody know why we're having the meeting. One of the most frustrating things is meetings hitting your calendar with no agenda and you don't know why you're being asked to join it. So that keeps everything, and it'll say here, do you want to keep the agenda? Do we want to regenerate it? And again, we can just use the normal Outlook here to find a time that's available for everybody. We can go ahead and keep the agenda. And we can go ahead and send that as well. One of the other things you can do in here as well is we can go ahead and reply here. So you can see the Copilot link pops up in here, and it'll say it's given me some answers. So it knows me quite well and says, no, I haven't done any of this work already. Still working on it, we'll update soon. Or it's just saying, you know, maybe I want some more information. So I'm going to go ahead, politely request information from recipient. I'm okay with that. So go ahead and Copilot will go and write my email for me. I will say from my point of view, I much prefer to do my own writing and then get Copilot to check it for me. But that's me. Some people are different. Otherwise, I think what might end up being is we just have lots of AI bots just constantly talking to one another, and we're all just sipping tea and getting paid, which would not be a bad future, I don't think. But anyway, so you can do that here. And again, you've got the Copilot app here as well, dedicated to in here. And again, it opens up very much like that the Teams app that we showed before. And you can ask to summarize all my emails for the last week, for example, and you can go and pop that in. It'll go and have a think, and it'll go and have a look at what's going on in there. And then it goes through and starts giving me all that information about those meetings. So if I've taken a week off, I can choose to read all my emails, or I can just summarize it with Copilot. And again, you could also ask it, is there anything that I actually need to do? Do I need to create myself some tasks, or am I just summarizing it? So hopefully that answers a little bit there for you as well. One other thing you can do is you can ask Copilot to look at your diary and find times where you might need to have some downtime to get some admin work done or something like that. Maybe if you're a bit like me, I tend to have meetings back to back. And maybe I just say to Copilot, I need 15 minutes at the beginning of the day, 15 minutes at the end. Can you just block out that diary for me every day of the week? And it'll just do that for me. So hopefully that will answer that one.
Thank you, Matthew. The next question I have is James. You're not getting away from me, James. What are the implications of using Copilot, James?
That's quite a broad question. So if you're looking at what are the implications of using Copilot from a security perspective, the first and foremost is in terms of the basics, that what we class as the conditional access into your environment. So is MFA across the organization? Do you only allow trusted devices to engage in Copilot? Is Copilot not able to see restricted sensitive data such as HR data? Are your documents classified? So a lot of when we're taking through customers on this journey, there's a lot of documentation that holds very sensitive data in regards to GDPR especially. So we can label that document to ensure that someone using Copilot can extract that data and move it away. So as a broad brush, without going specific, it's like, well, let's start with potentially looking at the security landscape, making sure the wrong data isn't going to the wrong tools. And that's the first area. The other implications are, as we alluded to, it's a mindset shift using Copilot. With Copilot now across our entire organization, we use Copilot as a central point. So I no longer really go around SharePoint looking for files, folders. If I'm back from holiday, I don't scroll for my emails. I use Copilot to tell me what was important, where was I mentioned. So it's getting people, that whole change process, to understand where to go, how to use Copilot and get the most out of it. Otherwise, it just becomes another application in an ever-growing tech suite. But there are a few. So, but we can But yeah, if there's any specifics on that point, happy to answer.
Thank you, James. A question for you, Steve, around the funding available for charities. Do you know of any technology funding available for charities? For us, we'd not only fund the software, but also need to look at the internal capacity for bringing in tech. We're a very small charity and we're struggling to cover all these new tech costs.
Okay. Yep. So Microsoft does provide free licensing for up to 10 users. So if you're a very small charity, you should be able to get some free licensing from Microsoft. And if you need help with that or a link to where you can get those licenses, I can certainly help you with that information. There's also $2,000 available for Microsoft Azure. Depending on how technical you are, Azure is a raft of services that Microsoft provide, generally known as to an area where you can host and store data and information. So it's equivalent to about £125 per month. And it's possible to build services and platforms on that and use those credits to have that provided free of charge. There's another organisation that we work with called Charity Excellence, and Charity Excellence are an independent site that assists charities, and they can help you with finding funding for IT services. You know, one case study that comes to mind, small organisation, 12 people. The CEO was so run down with meetings, notes, etc. I was looking to hire a PA. Before they hired the PA, we suggested that we deploy Copilot for them, show them how to use it. And rather than actually hire somebody, they got Copilot to do the work of the PA and save them, you know, a hire within the business. So from that perspective, real savings can be made.
Steve, another one for you, Steve. Is it possible to embed our company branding and slide deck design for Copilot to use it when generating PowerPoint slides?
Yes, it is. So what you could do is you could ring fence your company PowerPoint slides. You could put them in a certain area or location. You could build an agent, or you could set some rules and say when creating PowerPoint presentations, they should be based on our company branding, such as the slides in this location, and then anything generated will have the same theme to them.
Question for Matthew. I find that there's a word limit and file size limit for uploading transcripts. Is this for everyone, or does the premium 365 have no word limit?
I'm not actually aware of any word limit that I've hit. I don't have a dedicated number for you, but generally in my day-to-day use of Copilot, I've not hit any limits. What I will do after this is I will get an actual official answer, and we'll send that out over to you afterwards as well, just so we give you an accurate answer on that.
Thank you, Matthew. A question from Emily. How do you create the agents? This is abroad. I know we have some experience across the board. Who would like to take it?
Yeah, Matt, do you want me to? What's your preference?
Okay, let's see. It's probably an entire webinar on its own, to be honest. I'm not going to be able to show you an absolute in-depth one here, but again, inside the Copilot app here, there is literally a button there to create an agent. So through here, basically what Copilot will do is ask you what it is you're trying to do. So Steve, a little bit earlier on, showed you some examples of agents that were created. Now, this is supposed to be designed for very low code. So you tell Copilot what it is you're trying to make, and it will go off and try and make you something. I'm not going to go and say this is the absolute easiest thing to get right, and within 5 minutes you'll have a load of agents going, but it is simple enough where I would encourage anybody to go and have a look at it. And in here, again, it will give you some templates in here. So the first section here is describe what it is you want this agent to do. And the next one is where you kind of go in and configure it. Okay, so you can go through here and look at the templates. Maybe you just want an idea, you want a buddy who you want to bounce ideas off, and your colleague has gone off on a 2-week holiday somewhere. So you're going to go and replace your colleague with an idea coach for a fortnight, and you're going to go and do that. So you can go in here, maybe you do some interview questions or a learning coach, but you can come on here and go in and just click on one of these and it'll start doing here. So now it'll start building it out and things like that. There's a lot more to it than this, but you can go through and literally come in and start building this out. So you can give it a logo, you can give it a name, description, what the instructions are in here. And again, this is where it starts to get a little bit more complicated, but I would encourage you, if you have access to this, just go and have a play with it for sure. James, have you got anything else to add on that?
No, that's it. I mean, the beauty of Copilot is that they talk about the low code, so you can actually just use natural human language to build quite a lot of your Copilot. You can be very specific about what it can do, its tone of voice. You can tell it what knowledge to gain from. So it's not just going out to the wide web. You can focus on specific SharePoint sites or websites like your own website. So it's designed there. Where it gets a little bit more complex, a little bit more bespoke, is when we start thinking about the Copilot trigger. So an email's arrived, or a file's arrived, or a data point's arrived, Copilot needs to act, and then we need to think about the action of that. So go enter this data over here, go notify something has changed. That's when we start looking at the Power Platform. It becomes a little bit more involved, but again, there's partners like us that can help you with that process.
It's exactly it. One of the things that we use here for my department is my department offers IT support, and we've built it into our ticketing system, so our team can go and ask Copilot if we've seen a particular issue before, rather than having to go and Google and look at the first 10 pages that are presented. We can feed a load of information into Copilot here. We can link it with our ticketing system. So if we have somebody new, they can come through, ask the Copilot agent, I've got this issue. Is there a knowledge-based article? Have we fixed this before? There's loads of ideas. Your imagination is the only thing that can prevent you doing anything in here, for sure.
Thank you, Matthew. A question for Steve. Do you recommend that Copilot Studio is rolled out to an entire organization so everyone can create agents specific to their needs?
I would start off by building a plan. I'd look to get some use cases. I wouldn't necessarily roll it out to the organisation in one foul swoop. I'd look at it department by department, get some people who can be ambassadors for agents within the organisation. And then when you see the benefits, I think you'll see it will get more traction from the organisation. I think when you make it a free-for-all and give everybody the technology, people will duplicate things, there'll be crossover, and there won't be as much structure to the build. So from a personal perspective and the experience that we've had, we would look for specific use cases. Where can the most value be made in the organisation? What are those tasks that you can look to automate, and then you can do a clear return on investment. So you can say at the moment, we have somebody who is manually doing this task. It's taking X amount of hours a day, which equates to a salary of this. If we can automate this task and free up that time, this is the amount of money that we're saving. That's then a great justification to take to the board to say we want to implement this technology because it's going to provide a real time saving, and then build upon those use cases.
I think there's one key point you bang on, Steve. I think the other thing there for the person who asked that question is the fact that if you just allow people to deploy agents, there's not a mindset of, well, if the data set changes or the knowledge changes, I need to make a change in this application. They don't make it. They don't think about the support aspect, the aftercare of it, and that application becomes inaccurate pretty rapidly. Or people are creating duplications of themselves. So it's always best to have what, as Steve described.
You have a special request. Can you show us briefly what this looks like in SharePoint?
Okay, I'm gonna, in terms of SharePoint, Copilot doesn't exactly exist inside SharePoint. So what Copilot does is when you go to the Copilot app and you ask it a question, it will surface all of SharePoint for you that you have access to. So in terms of when we're saying, can you show us what it looks like in SharePoint? When we're showing it in Microsoft Teams or anything like that, it's referencing all the data it has in SharePoint for you. So for me, it knows I belong to my team and I work with the sales team. So I've got access to certain relevant information in there. So for example, I can ask Copilot to reference 10 documents from what I have access to. So in terms of what does it look like in SharePoint? Well, it doesn't actually look like anything other than it's been given access to your SharePoint library. The only other thing you could possibly look at is creating SharePoint sites, actual home pages, and using Copilot in there to help you design that. But generally, it's no different than it is anywhere else. Hopefully that answers and doesn't feel too much of a cop-out, but it is referencing SharePoint all the time.
And on that one, Noah, we can. There might be a couple of videos we have where we've built a agent embedded within SharePoint. We particularly see that when there's a project going on where there's multiple folders and files, and that Copilot agent can comb through and understand where you are in the project based on the information within. So you can embed an agent within SharePoint. I think we've got a couple of videos that we could share. So we'll make a note and one of us will get them out to you.
Thank you, James. A question for Steve. We are currently not using 365, but moving to it in early June. We're using it for the not-for-profit discounted licenses. Will you give an indication of costs for the various copilots that you're demoing, and are these also applicable to any non-profit discounts?
Yeah, so everything we've spoken about today from a licensing perspective, we would just give you the recommended retail price from Microsoft. So the Copilot license at the moment is around £25. It fluctuates because of the dollar rate. We can provide additional discounts on top of that, but we can share or follow up with you after to give you exact pricing if that's something you're interested in.
Thank you, Steve. One last question from Warren, I don't think was answered. Why do you need a dedicated agent, and can't the standard Copilot do this?
I think I answered that one, Theo. The dedicated agent I mentioned there was that the fact that the agent understood the context of your templates. So it understood the format in which to transcribe those notes for you to save you time. What we have done for our customers, gone a little step further, is that it will then, using what we said about the Power Platform a moment ago, it will actually create the Word document, fill out the Word document for you and save it in SharePoint, ready to go. So that's why the agent was there, because it understood a little bit more about the sector you worked in, it understood a little bit more about the templates as well.
Thank you, James. I don't see any more questions, but we do have 5 minutes left remaining. If anyone has any more questions, please feel free to enter them in the chat.
I think there's one here about the Copilot ribbon. Let's have a look. So Greg, I could see you thought it was located in the ribbon. So if you have the license, I'll just try and share this image now on the chat. You'll see that within Word, it is in the ribbon. It's in the top right-hand corner, right at the end. It's Copilot, but obviously that will only appear in Office applications if you have the Microsoft 365 Copilot license, which is around $19.60 per user per month.
Thank you, James. Give it a couple more seconds for any other questions to come through. We might finish a little early.
That's good.
While we're just waiting, if anybody hasn't, we are, as I say, we're looking to do more of these. It'd be really great if you haven't, to fill in the poll just so we can look at the technologies that you'd like to understand more and to get more of a feel of, so we can customize them to exactly what you're looking for.
Okay, it looks like. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Ben. Okay, if there's no more questions, I'll move on to the useful links slide.
Yeah, to give context, everyone on the call, we'll share this at the end. They're links that are specifically designed for non-profits. They talk about incentives, technology grants that we mentioned. There's a whole section on Copilot use cases with pure workflows. So we'll send these at the end, and you're about to click through and read the detail within.
Yes, thank you, James. As James said, we'll share the recording and useful links with you afterwards. That's a wrap. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.